Hey everyone, and welcome to La Vida Baseball. Here's a look at what is trending. Baseball's number one prospect, Wander Franco, finally gets the call-up. The 20-year-old shortstop will be added to the active roster on Tuesday, making him the second youngest player in Rays history to make his debut with the team. In celebration of Juneteenth, the Mariners and the San Francisco Giants both honored the Negro Leagues by donning throwback unis. The Steelheads and the Sea Lions were both part of the West Coast Negro Baseball Association, and this actually marks the 75th anniversary of the West Coast Negro League Association, which played for about 3 months in 1946. Angels two-way player Shohei Ohtani announces that he will go yard in Colorado. He is officially the first player to commit to the 2021 Home Run Derby. Conversely, current home run leader Vladdy Jr. said on Monday that he was opting out of the Home Run Derby so he could, quote, refresh mentally for the second half. And Lin-Manuel Miranda's film adaptation of In the Heights was met with some criticism regarding colorism in the lack of Afro-Latinos cast in lead roles. Latino podcasts are on the rise, it was reported, and we happen to have something up our sleeves. We cannot wait to share this news with you. It will be coming soon, so keep it here on La Vida Baseball for all the latest as far as our new show coming up. And that is a look at what is trending. And now Jen and Ozzie, welcome to the show. Jen in New Jersey and Ozzie Guillén Jr. coming at us from Chicago. How are you guys? Jen, are the Yankees just still toying with your emotions or what?
Yes, the roller coaster that is the New York Yankees, they're winning now. So that's good, right? We're at the peak. I think we're at the peak. We got to see if it's going to level off or is this going to be a big drop.
Which direction do you think it's going to go?
I think they're going to continue to climb. Honestly, it is the Yankees. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know we've seen a lot of falls, but I do think that they're going to continue to climb. Gary Sanchez has had a resurgence. It's amazing. I love everything that happens to Gary just because he gets so much flack, but he's proving everyone wrong, and I love it.
Yeah, and speaking of somebody proving everyone wrong, he had a bit of a slow start, but Francisco Lindor doing well for the Mets. Also, Jacob deGrom just firing on all cylinders. How are the Mets doing right now? What's your opinion on them?
Well, Jacob deGrom, I mean, what can you not say about Jacob deGrom? On Monday, he made his 12th start of the season. He leads pitchers in almost every relevant statistic. So ERA, WHIP, opposing batting average, and even the average number of pitches per inning, he's leading in. So I think the way that deGrom goes, the Mets go. They're in first place right now, I think up by 4 games. And who would have thought that at this point in the season that it would have been the Mets in first place and the Yankees still struggling, I believe like 4.5 games back from first place, and the Red Sox in first place also in that division. So shout out to the New York Mets. Shout out to Steve Cohen for doing what he had to do. Doing a great job.
Awesome. And Ozzie, you had a Father's Day to celebrate over the weekend. How was it?
It was a packed weekend with Father's Day, celebrating my kiddo's birthday party, a joint party. Adela and also Ozzie had a great time just seeing them being joyous. And again, it was the first time, again, a lot of people I got to see because of post-pandemic COVID. Here I am matching with my son. But it was a great Father's Day. I think it's probably one of the best holidays when you are that you're told that you're a father and that you're a good father. That's always a good thing.
Oh. So Ozzie Sr. gave you the vote of confidence.
Correct. Yeah, and it's we were all together, and I just think that if you're a responsible father, if you're a father by the actual father, if you're a stepfather, I think it's a good time. Like it's a hard job. You have a big job, just like Mother's Day. I think it's a nice recognition. And again, in family, it was a good time. And it was packed. Again, Chicago opening up. Everyone's excited. Both teams are in the lead in first place. And the city's just jumping.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Was your dad hard on you?
In what way? No, you know what? I think my dad was more hard on us to be responsible men than anything. My father had a philosophy of anything you do it with love. But my dad was very responsible with us being dads. I think that if we were professional baseball players, but we were irresponsible parents, I don't think he would like us very much. I think that he wanted us to be good fathers, and I'm the only one who's a dad right now. And he always said, you got to be ready. When you're going to be a dad, you got to be responsible. So because it's not something that you do and then you stop doing, it's something that, it becomes the only thing that's a part of you in life, and you're responsible for the whole time. So he had good advice, but yeah, I think that he's harder on us on how we are as parents than anything else.
I love that. Baseball comes second in this scenario. All right, let's talk about the best thing that we saw on social media. Jen, what was that for you?
Well, there's so many amazing things, right, that we see on social, and I am forgetting at this moment what it was that I picked.
What it was that you picked? I think you picked, actually, Carrie Richardson.
That's right. Oh my goodness. Oh, my brain. So many things on my mind. Yes, Carrie Richardson going to the Olympics. Amazing. She is the fastest woman in the country right now, and she's going to the Olympics. Her story is amazing. Her biological mother had actually passed a week before her winning the race. She had just found out. Her grandmother, who was there, she went and hugged her at the end of the race. I just think she's awesome. She is just awesome, and I can't wait to see everything that she does moving forward. And she's going to be representing us, the United States, in the Olympics. So shout out to her.
Fantastic. This is going to be a fun Olympics. I'm excited for it. Ozzie, you have a Joey Votto nugget, one of my favorite players.
The legend of Joey Votto. Joey Votto gets ejected first inning of the game. This is why I love social media. A father posts a young lady, a little girl crying, okay, because she wanted to see Joey Votto. It was her first game at seeing her favorite player, and Joey got kicked out. Joey wrote her in a baseball saying sorry that happened. And then Joey and the Reds made it a point to bring her back the next day. So she got to not only be at the game, but got to meet Joey and meet him and exchange that moment. But I think that for Joey, it shows who he is as a man, because, it's the game. You get hyped up, you get kicked out. And sometimes, players do feel bad, because if you get kicked out and when you argue, you don't want to get kicked out. That's not you're just trying to make your point. And again, the umps have to do what they got to do. But there might be someone in the stands that came to see you. There might be someone out there that, that paid their hard-earned money and came, or a small fan, and you don't want to break their hearts. And this little girl, lucky enough, was going to be there. And that's why a lot of big-time names, when you see guys like Votto, guys that are like really big on that roster, you don't see them arguing that much, because they know that they have that pressure of like, you have to be on the field to produce. But again, people might have paid to come see you. But it was a great moment from social media to be able to capture this. The Reds, Joey making it a point to get her there. I think it makes baseball real, and that, it's just an entertainment, and people go there to see it. And it was a special moment, especially during the Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, so that was a 4-game set that was played here in San Diego. And I believe on the last day, on Sunday, on Father's Day, he actually gave her a ball and inscribed a little message, which was so sweet, because she had tickets to, I believe, the entire series, which is amazing. She was sitting right behind home plate right there, and or right behind their dugout. And she was so cute. She was so cute. We got a ton of it here in San Diego. We got all the updates from our home broadcast booth. They were covering the story as well. Absolutely adorable. For me, it was the San Francisco Giants. I love this 2021 San Francisco Giants because of all of the social movements that they're doing. They were the first team to wear a pride symbol on their uniform. Gabe Kapler's hat, their manager, going to the Hall of Fame with that patch. And now they honored pregame the family of Tony Stone. Tony Stone was the first female recorded to play professional baseball in all men's league. She was a Black woman, played in the Negro League. She also played as part of the All-American girls team. And they are going to be naming a street after her in San Francisco. They have this mission project, which is a rehabilitation project in the south part of San Francisco, and they will be naming a street after Tony Stone. They honored her family pregame and gave them a plaque in her honor. She also played for the Sea Lions, which was just so wonderful that they wore those uniforms as a throwback. So congratulations. I love this San Francisco Giants team. So cool. All right, we are going to be playing a little game of If I Were the GM. The All-Star game is coming up. Ballots are out. We're going to be picking who we think should be part of that starting team. So I'm going to throw out a couple of names, either or. You tell me who should be starting at each position. So let's go with catcher. Jen, you go first. Here are your options, Yadi or Salvador.
Oh, I'm going Yachty all the way.
Ozzie, who's your pick?
Salvador Perez, best offensive catcher in the American League.
Yeah, I know he's having a great season, but you got to go with the veteran.
All right, yeah, I got to go with Yachty too. I mean, it's got to be his last year, right? I would imagine. I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Oh, don't get upset. Okay, first base. Who's starting first base? Vladdy Jr. or Jose Abreu?
Easy. Best first baseman in the league right now.
Yeah, Vladdy.
Abreu's not even hitting his weight. This is not 2020, baby.
Best offensive first baseman. Okay, second base, Jose Altuve or Ozzie Albies?
You know what? Yeah.
Mr. Bam himself.
I think, you know what? The Astros are proving a lot of people wrong. And
hey, time passed. He didn't get punished for what he did. He's doing his job. His mental game has gotten a lot better post-pandemic. He seems a lot more concentrated, and that swing is back, and he will be the National League starting second baseman.
Okay. All right, let's go. Shortstop, Fernando Tatis Jr. or Javi Baez, Jen?
Oh, Tatis.
Not a lot of difference today. Tatis Jr., my boy Javi, he's I think that Lindor contract has him a little money crazy, and the Tatis, he's a little pressuring himself a lot. This year has not been as great as I thought it'd be for him. But Tatis Jr., you got paid $300 million. He's proving everyone wrong, including myself. The kid is delivering. El Nino's delivering. Can't hate it.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen a player handle that kind of pressure in my generation. He has been
with pressure.
Yeah,
I agree. $300 million. A lot of things could have gone wrong. He's playing for a team that needs to win. Everyone's watching him. He's a national player now. It's not just being watched in San Diego. And when you get paid that much, fans think that they're the only ones thinking about it. Your peers are thinking about it. There's a lot of people in baseball that were not upset, but like, really? Why him? He just got here. And he needs to prove himself. And he knows that. And he's been doing it. And that's been the rumblings in the baseball world, in the inner circles of, man, this guy is doing what he said he was going to be doing.
He has the perfect Southern California type of personality, because when you go to Cali, everybody's like so laid back, and that's who he is. I mean, he is not playing with any type of pressure. He's fun to watch. Tatis on everything.
You're so right. I agree with you 100%. Third base in the hot corner, Rafael Devers or Yoan Moncada?
Not going with my boy. Not going with Moncada. I'm going to go with Rafael Devers. Moncada, great music. I think he still might make the All-Star team as a backup. Rafael Devers is hands down one of the most underrated players in baseball in general. It's between him and Ramirez. But Devers is on fire. That team, we had him finishing dead last. He is a part of that offense. He is a key. Devers all the way.
Jen?
Yeah, Devers all the way. I echo everything Ozzie just said.
Okay, out in the outfield, Ronald Acuna Jr. or Juan Soto?
Ooh.
Ozzie?
Jen's saying, I got Acuna. Juan Soto, great player, has the ring. Again, this is 2021. He's been a slow starter. Acuna, everybody likes him except Snicker, his manager. He just did everything well. He just hit a bomb every other day. Plays great offense, great plays defense, awesome swagger. He's been playing really well. And again, I think that he should be the starting.
Okay, Jen, you picked Juan Soto. Even though he's not having the year offensively?
I think he was held back by injury, by COVID, by a number of things. And I think he's just breaking out of that. And Juan Soto, and I agree that Acuna is also a great player and is also deserving of this. I mean, Vladdy said if he would have been in the home run derby, he would have wanted to have faced Ronald Acuna, right? So there is something to be said for that. But I love Juan Soto. I just think he's a player to watch and is also deserving. And like I said, he was held back by a number of injuries, but I want him there.
I agree. He's incredibly likable. I'm a big fan. Yeah. DH, JD Martinez or Nelson Cruz. I already know who Jen's picking.
Do I have to like?
You don't even have to say anything. We already know. We already know.
I'm just gonna put the initials.
Low pro. That's it.
So I'm going to make a prediction right now. Okay, I got JD Martinez because, again, he's having a monstrous year. But also, JD Martinez is he plays a lot of outfield. So a true DH, I still think Nelson is one of the only few guys out there that's a true DH. Everyone's counting the Twins out. They've won a few games in a row, and they've kept that 10-game window of playing only 10 games under 500. Nelson Cruz in his career tends to get hot, like ridiculously hot for 2 months. Mm-hmm. I think that 2 months has not happened yet. And I think Nelson Cruz might blow up and just go on a 2 months tear.
Yeah.
So it could be right before the All-Star game or it could be after the All-Star game. But I really think that Nelson Cruz at the end, I'm a betting man. I still think that he hits 40 home runs and he drives in his 100 RBIs.
Wow. Well, listen.
More mouth to
All right, moving on. Who won the week in baseball in your eyes? Jen, you are talking about the guy that everybody's been talking about, number one prospect.
Yeah, Wander Franco. How can you not win the week when you're called up to the big leagues and everybody's been waiting and dying for it? And I've got to say, when I was at the Futures game 2 years ago, I couldn't even get an interview with Wander Franco, not because he didn't want to give it, but because everyone wanted a piece of him. And it was just too much for the kid at the Futures game. So I can't even imagine what it's going to be like right now and what it was like for him. It's awesome. Shout out to Wander Franco making his debut.
I mean, Wander Franco was born in 2001. Like, if that doesn't make you feel old, I don't know what will. It's
he's young. He's just a young.
There is a lot of pressure, Ozzie, because listen, the Rays are playing a homestand against the first place Boston Red Sox. So this is an integral series that they have to play. The Rays have been on a bit of a skid. So is he going to be the catalyst to bring them back?
He could be.
What do you think of that pressure?
I think that he could be. I think that sometimes you make internal moves that are better than external moves. Mm-hmm. I think that they just pulled the trigger when they thought he was ready. It's a very good organization. I don't think they're going to bring him up to do anything that he can't handle. Are they expecting him to hit 40 home runs right away? No, but he's a very solid player. I think it's exciting. The last two big league debuts that Major League Baseball has been super excited about have both been Latino. Tatis Jr.
Yep.
And now Wander. So it's like the future of baseball is in good hands. It's in Latino hands for the most part. But I think he's going to be an exciting guy. I think that I'm not saying he's going to be an MVP right away, but his talent level, if he stays healthy, he's going to be a solid player. So I think we'll be talking about it.
Don't forget Vladdy Jr. too. Everybody was excited.
Yeah, that was 3 years ago.
And as far as Wander Franco goes, right, like this is another guy who's going to be playing with, I think, even more pressure than Tatis Jr. was during his debut, just because everyone has been fighting for him to be brought up. Everyone has been arguing about why did they bring him up now? Like, are they trying to control his time and all of these other things? So I think that there's even a little bit more pressure put on Wander Franco, but it's going to be good to see how he handles that. Is he going to beat Tatis Jr. or is he going to be, somebody who takes a little bit more time to develop and to adjust to the big leagues?
Well, they're not going to pay him $300 million in Tampa, so. Sorry, Wander.
That's true. Isn't that the luck of the draw?
Hey, that Tatis got traded. Everybody said it was the worst thing that happened to him. I think that was a blessing in disguise.
Oh, the worst thing that happened. The worst thing that happened. That was the trade for James Shields. That was the Padres' number one best move they ever made.
Yes.
Was trading him with the White Sox. I do. Are the White Sox still salty about that? I wonder.
They should be for the rest of their lives. Yes. I don't think the White Sox pay him $300 million either.
Could you imagine a team with Tatis Jr. and Tim Anderson and the swag?
Tim will be playing left field. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that's not a bad thing. Again, though, I think that this young man, and if I was Tampa, if he does play well, I would try to extend him for, lock him in, because the better he plays. When we're talking about prospects, again, my mind doesn't go back, but now when Jen mentioned Vladdy, I went and thought about Soto. Literally, when you look at the prospects that are coming up, every player that has come up in the past, maybe now I'm thinking about 6 years, they've almost all of them have hit. They've been good players. They need to be locked in. So you can lock in a guy early and pay him a money that's good for both parties, or you can make him wait and blow up, and then you can't afford him. And then he has to go to a major market team where there's only about a couple handful of teams that can compete. So for Wander, I think he's going to play. I think that Tampa's a perfect fit for him. They're in the race, and he's going to be thrown right in it. So I'm excited. I'm just excited to see him in the big leagues, because I think that he was learning nothing in the minor leagues at this point. He's had been past that development. He needs to develop now in the big show. That's where he's at. He's fought all the other fighters. He needs a shot at the title. He's at where he needs to be.
Absolutely. The time is now. For me, the best thing that I saw that wins baseball for me is the fact that 29 ball clubs have opened up their stadiums to full capacity. Thank goodness, finally. And how much fun has it been watching games with full stadiums? I'm sure the players feel it. The fans feel it. How wonderful. I had a chance to be at Petco for reopening night. Tatis homered. You couldn't ask for anything more. The weather was fabulous. It was a 4-game series against the Cincinnati Reds. They were in town, and it was just so much fun. The Padres ended up sweeping the Reds, and it's just wonderful to see. Now, I mentioned it's 29 clubs. The only one that is not open full capacity is the Toronto Blue Jays, because they are playing in the minor league ballpark currently in Buffalo, while the Rogers Center is getting dismantled and they're getting a new stadium. So they're the only ones that can't have full capacity, but soon, I'm sure. So that's super exciting. All right, let's talk about one of the trending topics that I mentioned at the top of the show. And this has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of discussion online. I wanted to bring it up here because it is an important conversation to have. Lin-Manuel Miranda's film adaptation of In the Heights was met with a lot of criticism online regarding colorism in the lack of Afro-Latinos cast in lead roles. Now, the show does depict Washington Heights in New York City, an area that is predominantly Afro-Latino, Dominican, and the fact that a lot of the lead characters were played by Latinos, but lighter skin, white passing, or white Latinos. Jen, I'm curious to hear your opinion. Sound off on this one.
So it's interesting, right? Because I never, especially in the Latino community, right? Like, you never want to be critical of something that is made to represent you, and especially one of its first kind. The entire cast is Latino. I understand people's frustration, seeing as this is the first movie that depicts Latinos, all Latinos, in a very positive light, as hardworking middle class, and the community where it's in. Like, I'm very close to the Washington Heights community. My mom has had her business there for pretty much my entire life, so I very much feel connected to Washington Heights, and it was great to see, and I felt represented. I love the music. One of my favorite scenes was when they sing La Bandera, which is the one that's in the picture, and they're holding up all the different flags from Latin America. But I understand the frustration, right? Because people want to see themselves, and for a long time, Latinos that you see on screen are usually white Latinos. The Latinos that you see, especially even in Latin America. Let's not even talk about Hollywood. Let's just talk about specifically Latin America. When you look at the telenovelas, anytime you see an Afro-Latino in the telenovelas, they're usually the maid. They're usually the help. And so to see yourself, it's important. But I will say this, West Side Story was the first movie that I saw that I felt seen, even though you had white people playing Latinos. Okay, so we have come a very far way. We've come a long way when it comes to representation, because if you think about it, when West Side Story came out, you had a couple of white Americans playing Puerto Ricans, right? So and that's why I kind of understood a little bit of where Rita Moreno was coming from. She got a lot of flack for what she said, but if you look back, she had white people working with her, acting as Latino. So that's important to note. Also, Jimmy Smits is not white, and I feel like people are overlooking his entire participation in the movie. Jimmy Spitz is probably darker than myself, and I'm an Afro-Latina as well. And Leslie Grace, I feel like she did a great job. The star of the movie, an Afro-Latina, she is on the lighter side, right? But the argument and the conversation takes away from the cast, who did an amazing job as well. And I did feel represented, but I understand and I hear everyone who has that frustration. I think that we can have the conversation, and I believe that moving forward, you will see more of that. And Julie, you had brought up a really good point too, as far as the people are cast. You got to remember, if this is the first movie that's going to be represented and marketed to everyone, not just Latinos, everyone, had to come see this movie. You need a couple of well-known names. So Anthony Ramos, you already knew him from Hamilton. There's people who he's a name, especially in the community, where people are like, oh, I want to see what he does. So you need some of those names. Leslie Grace is an artist, is a music artist. So you have to have some of those names in the movie in order to get people to come out and see it, and then have more opportunities later down the road. And I'm happy that Lin-Manuel and the director, who's also the director of Crazy Rich Asians, are having the conversations, are having a difficult conversation, are taking the criticism, and not being defensive about it. But I think all in all, they did a really good job with the movie, with representing the culture of Latinos. We are hardworking people. We are middle-class people. We do it all. There are doctors, there are lawyers, there are salon owners, there are bodega owners, and do it all. Yes, we come in all shades, but take it for what it is and appreciate what it was.
Absolutely. Would you say, Jennifer, take someone, just a general audience member who's never been to New York City, who's never seen Washington Heights, do you feel that they did a good job depicting overall what it's like in Washington Heights?
Yeah. And I mean, there's a couple of scenes where a lot of us were like, that ain't real. There was never parking in Washington Heights. Okay. Okay, and especially now after COVID, they've taken up, most of the businesses take up like half of the street with the outdoor dining. So there is no parking. Okay. So I don't know what you're talking about, but for the most part, yes, the culture, the people on the corners playing dominoes, the salons, being packed, especially pre-COVID, salons are always packed, and that's where you go and you talk to Chiefs, man. The bodega is such an important and integral part of the community. We saw during the pandemic, I believe it was Pepsi gave out a grant to a bodega owner. So yes, I think that all in all, being part of that community, yes, I think that they did a good job representing everyone and how the culture in the Heights is.
Sure. Ozzie, what's your take?
You know what? I think that they gotta look at it like we do in baseball. Okay, Latino culture is very diverse. All I need to know is that you're Latino. I don't say, oh, this guy's darker than this guy, because when you look at our culture, and this is something that gets scary in the West, is that we don't know how much Afro-Latino we have in us. We really don't. If we're judging just by our skin color, then that's what you're just judging on. But I have ancestors that are from Africa. Actually, my family practices a religion that comes from Africa. I have cousins that are extremely dark. So when we're starting to, I find it petty, because what we should be doing is rooting for this young man who is breaking barriers in an industry where I don't think it's a very Latino industry driven, that I don't think that there's a lot of Latinos, period, getting casted in shows like Hamilton or anywhere. And he broke that barrier. He's a household name. He gets a shot to do his own version of this in a movie. So it's a huge opportunity for him. I'm hoping that he does amazingly. And then he gets to do 50 more movies. And then maybe in the next movie, he makes, he casts more, people that are starting off their careers. This was his first shot, man. He was going all in. I'm sure that there was a lot of decision making of maybe you went with a bigger name over someone that might fit the role, a little bit better on looks. Okay. But they were all Latino. I think that if you would have gone the other route and picked no Latinos at all, and there was people playing Latinos that weren't Latino, I would have been like, okay, they got a point. But looking from the outside, we need to root for this guy. We can't let Latinos get divided on this color situation. That's the last thing we need. This black versus white Latino. I've said this with the speaking the Spanish versus the non-speaking the Spanish. We don't have the privilege of having that argument. Like, we need to have everybody on the same boat as Latinos. We can't say, okay, we're just going to be the group that speaks Spanish. We don't need anybody else. That's not what the United States represents. It might represent Venezuela or back home, wherever you're from. But in the United States, not everyone speaks Spanish. We come in all different shapes and sizes. We cannot see color. We use the word Latino. That's why that scene that Jen mentions, and I haven't watched it yet, I think it's really cool that they included a lot of flags, because when I think Washington Heights, I think Dominican, number one, then maybe Puerto Rican, but I don't think Venezuelan, Mexican, Guatemalan. But the fact that they're including them there, he's thinking Latinos in general. So I hope that, I hope it's just a stepping stone. I hope the next time they cast, and if they're going to be upset, send the guy to Twitter and say, hey, man, we want you to pick 2 of this kind, 2 of that kind. His job's already hard enough as it is. He's a Latino in Hollywood trying to make a film. We got to cut him some slack. It's just hard as it is.
And we've been part of this industry, and you probably more than any one of us understands the bureaucracy, the behind the scenes, because I am sure that there were higher up executives who had some say in the casting. Okay. I mean, don't forget about that for 1 second. Just because Lin-Manuel, wrote and produced, and you had, and I forget his name, the director as well. Yes. Yeah. Don't think for 1 second that they had all the say in this film.
He was a boss.
Yeah, I mean, casting practices, and I think some of the criticism and a lot of the dismay and the anger is misdirected here, because a lot of, if you look at it from a technical standpoint, casting practices for a Broadway show versus a major big budget, and this was a big budget Hollywood film, a mainstream film. This was no indie project. This was no SAG low budget. This was a major multi-million-dollar film. The casting process is completely different. And if you don't have big names to what producers would call be the draw for your major motion picture, you're not going to make that box office return. And so they would rather have big names. To be perfectly honest, Jimmy Smits is the perfect example of that. On Broadway, I don't think Jimmy Smits is cast in that role. But in Hollywood, his name, I guarantee you, is one of the names that they put in there in their casting in order to raise money for this film, in order to get more interest and get the public involved. You have a name like Jimmy Smits, people want to know what he's doing. So when you have big names like that, they become the draw. People want to come to see the movie, versus if it was a Broadway show, Broadway producers are more likely to go with whoever is the most talented person in that role versus what they may look like from a physical standpoint. But when it comes to Hollywood, unfortunately, it is all about those big names. And it happens to be that those people have had that opportunity to make those big names. And maybe that's the problem, is that we need to start giving more opportunity on a smaller scale to Afro-Latinos so that they can rise and make that name for themselves and then get cast in those big box office movie musicals, if that's what they want. So
yeah, I agree, Julie. I think that that's probably one of the major issues, is that Afro-Latinos in Hollywood have not had that big opportunity. I think one of the only ones that comes to mind as a prominent name is Zoe Saldana, right? And so Dominicana, love her. But when you think Afro-Latinas, she's the number one, and she is an amazing actor. But one thing about In the Heights, and this is where I do critique the movie, and it's as far as the plot line was concerned, and they took out the part where Jimmy Smits' character was against the relationship between the lead actress and her Black African-American boyfriend. And that is a line, and that is a story that we've seen time and time again in Latin American families, and it exists, and it's an unfortunate reality, but it is a reality. And I think that was a moment that was missed, especially the times that we're living in, that had that been part of the movie, I don't think that the argument would have been so big, right? I don't think the controversy would have been as big, because I think people would have said like, well, but look, they're actually facing this one real big ugly truth that exists within the Latino community, and that there is a lot of colorism and racism within our own community. So, a moment missed, a teachable moment missed for sure. But all in all, the movie is amazing. Support it, because by supporting it, you allow more films like it to be made.
Perfectly said. Thank you, Jen. And now I want to go on to, in your opinion, we're going to sound off. And we always like to give some space at the end of the show to sound off on something that is on our mind. So, Jen, what is on your mind this week?
Yeah, so something that's on my mind, and I know it's on a lot of people's minds, especially as women in the industry. Kat O'Brien, a former sports reporter, published an op-ed in the New York Times, talking about a horrific moment in her life. She alleged to be raped by a former Major League Baseball player. And obviously, we've been having this conversation about sexual harassment in the industry, but there's something deeper to this. And it's just the power that men have over women. It's a cultural thing, and it's not just in baseball. This is across all industries, and this is around the world. And Shakia Taylor, she made a great point in an interview that you and I, Julie, had with her. And she said, we have to stop teaching young girls not to get raped and instead teach boys not to rape. And that's where I think the onus lies. I think this is the conversation that we need to be having. How do we teach boys, young men, to respect women, to respect young girls? That is what needs to be happening. There's a lot of conversation about what needs to be taught and what shouldn't be taught in schools. I think that is one of the most important things that you can teach a child, is how to have self-respect for themselves, and how to have respect for others, and boys and girls, how to treat each other, what no means, all of those things. And you can do it at every level, in different ways. And I think that's the conversation, right? Because we always ask, how do you fix the problem? How do you fix the problem? Well, yes, you need to have repercussions, severe repercussions, especially when people are at a high level. The author and this journalist, she did not name the player. And I mean, respect her decision for not naming the player, because she felt like she would be more victimized by naming the player. And I get it, right? Because whenever a woman comes forward, not only is there always doubt, but then people try and bring up other things and trying to dig dirt on them. And so she was rightfully fearful of that. So she just wanted to share her story because of everything else that we have seen with Jared Porter, Mickey Callaway, so on and so on and so forth, right? The list goes on and on and on. But again, like I said, I think that people need to start having a real conversation with their kids, with students. I think that that's where you're going to fix the problem. It's not going to be fixed at the big level, because once you're there, once you're a grown ass man, you act the way you're going to act. And even if you are fired, even if you are banned and canceled for life, you are who you are. You're a perv. And I don't think that type of behavior really, and I could be wrong, I don't think that type of behavior changes when you're grown, right? I think that you have to address it at a young age and develop and mold respectful men.
Right?
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Jen, for that. What's on your mind? We always love to hear what's on your mind. And that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for watching this edition of La Vida Baseball Live. I'm Julie Alexandria for Jen and Ozzie. We'll see you next time.